How's this week been since the highs of Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, we don't get too high, we don't get too low. That's the way it goes. So week's been good. Um, yeah, we're healthy. We've got a healthy team. Obviously, other than your normal stuff. So yeah, it's been a good week.
What about injury wise? What can you tell us after Saturday and anyone coming back?
Yeah, nothing new on the injury front. So no news there.
Okay. In terms of what you can take from Saturday into to Castleford, I mean, what were the things that pleased you most, which you can take forward now?
I thought we were a little bit sharper in attack. We executed better than we have been doing, but that's been work in progress and building and growing. So we expected that, and also it was good conditions to play in. So I'm not sure we'll take that into Friday night because I'm sure it'll be quite a difference. Put a bit of rain down, hasn't it? So, but we were connected in contrast to the previous week. So we were back connected because we've been like that all season. So it would been really good. And yeah, and overall, I thought defensively we were very good as well. We just fell out of system for the tries there, which we feel were solvable. So we were disappointed with them. However, overall it's a derby, and to get the win was really pleasing, and we're sat in a decent position.
Just been speaking to Mark Sneed, you mentioned there about some of the how slick you can be things, because he's saying combinations and stuff will come with time. So he was talking about Kate Cuss, for example, and saying that he still thinks that there's a lot they can do and combinations like that. How long in your eyes do combinations take then to kind of hit their peaks in a season?
Well, that's a big question. So and you'll owe me to that answer, no doubt. So I would say how long's a piece of string? It'll come when it comes, and there'll be no pressure from us other than the daily pressure that they put upon themselves, and we support and encourage them to get better. So we all want to be better and more polished. And other people might say, well, we look pretty decent as it is, but our attention to detail, we'll keep seeking to be better, as everybody does and should in rugby and in life. So we're no different. But yeah, we're all right where we are, and there's always room for improvement.
Good opportunity on these next two away games to keep climbing and keep building on what you've done.
Well, we know we've got, first and all, we're playing Castleford, and that's all we're focused about. So that is always an opportunity, no matter who we play. And obviously with that opportunity that comes the risk and the dangers of that as well. So we know we're up against a team with a lot of experienced rugby players who are good rugby players, in particular Westerman, McShane, Jacob Miller, Richardson. They've got some really good footballers, and I've said this previously when we've played against them. So if you dip your toe in the water, they'll burn you. And what we've seen in recent weeks with Castleford is they've got a fair amount of spirit, and they've got a lot of motivation to get a result this week and every week, but in particular this week, at home. It's going to be a formidable task, and but one that like I said, we can't dip our toe in the water. We've got to be fully committed.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Love you all, Martin.
Just a couple of things, Paul. You said there's nothing to report on injuries, and like last year, you seem to be having a fairly good year so far with injuries. Not many of them compared to most other clubs. Can I just ask about a couple of players who I'm just not quite sure of what the situation is with them? Adam Sidlow, every week we keep being told he needs one game for his 150th Super League game, but obviously he's not being selected, and I'm just not sure why that is. Does he have a long-term injury? I assume he does. Or
yeah, he's had calf tears in pre-season, 2 or 3 of them actually. So
right,
yeah, he's still a few weeks off. So that's probably why. Yeah, you get the write up with the 1 game off, and it's been for a while. So
not for a while yet. Will he fulfil that?
No. He's not going to hit that milestone for a few weeks yet.
And Gil Dudson, what's his situation?
A calf, interestingly. So a lot of the soft rounds, I think you'll find that. I mean, if you actually look across the league, you'll probably find there's a lot of calf injuries, calf tears. and it's the softer grounds. So yeah, we're no different. We're suffering with that.
So hopefully that might change as we get into spring and summer.
Yeah, that's it. And especially if you're training on a soft ground, then play on a quick ground. That it's the differentials sometimes of the changing surface. So, but yeah, back to Gill. He's only hopefully a couple of weeks. So Chris Hankinson's still there. He's chipping away at his injuries a few weeks, and Singo as well a few weeks. So that's our list right there. So it's all the bigger boys, mainly the bigger boys, and Chris Hankinson obviously who were playing extremely well at the time.
It was, yes. I was really impressed by him. But you seem to cope with, as long as the injury list doesn't get too extensive, you seem incredibly good at coping with what's thrown at you, basically.
Yeah, and that's credit to the players. You can often look at our bench or our side and think we might be a little bit small here, a little bit light here, but we find a way of making it work. And again, that's credit to the players.
And your medical team, I assume, that do they presumably play a significant role in making sure soft tissue injuries don't, keep players out and so on.
Well, yeah, I mean they can't obviously prevent the injuries, but they prepare and put them in as good a shape as possible, and then they get them back as quick as possible. So yeah, I think all our medical team and our strength and conditioning team have been fantastic, and they always are. And every coach will say that about the back team. But we've certainly got a special group here, and a group that are kept very, very busy. So yeah. And they go above and beyond. And I think, again, most groups do, but I can only speak for ours, and our group definitely go above and beyond. And working hours isn't a thing that applies to them. They do the job, as long as it takes, they'll do it.
Who are the key people in that group, by the way, at your club?
Yeah, so you've got head of S&C's Gaz Whitaker and head of Physio's Charlie. So, but both good guys. But we say heads. But we've got Jack and Saz in medical. Saz has been here for years. She's fantastic, and Wolfie in S&C there, so they're great as well. That we've got a small team of people at the club, in particular, on and off the field, but everybody's they do a valid job, and they're valued as well, and we're very close as a group. We talk about the players being close, but I think the staff have that closeness as well.
I'll just ask about David Nofo-Aluma. You've signed him, obviously, without a pre-season, and he's been selected in 1 or 2 games, but been not selected in several others. Is that because he's trying to sort of catch up with or to have the pre-season preparation that he didn't really have? Is not quite at the right level yet to be selected every week.
A little bit of that. He didn't have a pre-season, so he's definitely come undercooked. So for his benefit, he needs to get some mileage into his legs. He pulled up a little bit after the Wigan game. It was a little bit sore there in the hamstrings and a little bit of damage there. So we had to be careful with him the week after. And unfortunately for him, he's stepped out of one climate into another for the first time in his life, and it's freezing. Well, yeah, I will try and put a diplomatic way of saying it, but he's been beat by the bug, on a couple of occasions. So he's had it all. His immune system will be flying now because it's like sending the kid to nursery, isn't it? So he's took him in a hotel here. He's going to move into his new place, and so hopefully he settles down. He's cooking for himself and everything.
I was going to say, has he got family with him?
No, he's on his own. So. Yeah. But yeah, he just.
So he needs a bit of nursing, I suppose.
Yeah, well, he can look after himself. He's a big boy, but when you settle in and you've got your own place and everything's, it just seems a little bit bigger, but a little bit better. But the sun's shining today for temporarily, so we keep telling him it's on its way, as we do with all the sports, but it never seems to quite stay, does it? So
no,
fingers crossed.
It's a lot easier to transition from a cold climate into a warm one than the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you've got a pool in the back garden, you can just jump in. So a little bit different here. Not quite the same jumping into the hot bath, is it? But
no.
He'll be right.
Probably best not to play him at Castleford, Paul, given how cold it sometimes is there.
Yeah, exactly. We're not expecting a heat wave, that's for sure. But
No.
you know, we'll when he's ready, he'll play.
It is a tricky game. It's a potential banana skin for you, this game, isn't it? Because obviously on form, you're going to go into this game as a strong favourite. You're well ahead of them on the table, but against Leeds, especially in the first half, I thought they did show strong signs of getting it back together. And Leeds actually held them out with some great defence. And, that's a lesson for you, I suppose, that you might have to do the same thing if you're going to get on top later in the game as they did.
Yeah, interesting that we go into a game as favourites because again, before a ball was kicked, we wouldn't have gone to Castleford as favourites. So it's a bit of unknown territory for us, a little bit of a different challenge. And yeah, if we were gonna learn from obviously previewing, then yeah, their last performance was a dogged, wholehearted performance.
Their best of the season, I would say.
Yeah. They would definitely, and as like I said before, if you dip your toe in, they're a team that are willing to work hard for one another, and because they've got the rugby players in there, then they'll get you. So, yeah, and they've probably, and I think they've made a point of saying that the spine's probably the best it's been now. They've got the players where they want the players. So we're facing Castleford at the best, with lots of motivation and a little bit of confidence in a stoic performance against a good Leeds side. So yeah, it's going to be a tough challenge, and like I say, it's new ground for us being the favourite, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, hopefully that'll continue for a while. Whoever you're playing.
We'd be happy. Yeah, we would take that pressure if that meant we were sitting in a healthy position, then we would accept that pressure that comes with it 100%.
Absolutely. Just on it's an interesting pitch, Castle, because it's probably the shortest pitch in the competition, isn't it? I would think. Does that help a kicker like Mark Sneyd? Is it good for a kicker to have a short pitch, or is it better to have a pitch of a more conventional length?
I mean, I guess it depends how your team's shaping up. If you're in good territory, then your kicks are all going to be attacking kicks, short kicking game. But what you can find at Castleford is the last players are generally attacking kicks. Castleford in particular, you'll see they put the ball in the sky on most of the last players because they get to halfway line pretty easily because of the length of the pitch. So there's an opportunity on every last play almost at Castleford. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a plus or a minus to kickers. It probably just influences the type of kick that they do more often. They'll be doing more short kicks because they'll be in better field position probably more often on the pitch at Castleford. And
of course, you've got Mark Sneyd, who looks as though he's heading for record territory in terms of goal kicking. Are you going to ask all your players to score under the post for him?
It's weird, isn't it? Because we're on about him. He's heading towards record territory. I think he's 10 off. Right at the beginning, if we could said Sneyd, we'd be happy with him kicking 10 goals in a row. So he's got a quarter of the way of the record to go. So we can make it sound further away than it actually is, or closer. It's 10 goals in a row is a tough achievement in itself. So I don't think it's that's at the back of the mind, and I wouldn't want to start highlighting that and having a focus on that. If that comes as a byproduct of us scoring tries, then we'll be happy enough.
And just ask one other question finally. You've got, as far as I can recall this season, you've got a pretty good disciplinary record, compared to some teams who are regulars at the match review panel and the disciplinary panel. I mean, do you accept? Do you think you are a more disciplined team than most in the competition so far?
Yeah, I think we had less bans than anybody else last year and the year before, so we've continued that trend. So it's good. Play the game in the right spirit. We get highly penalised. I think we sit about 10th, which is an improvement on last year. We were 12th, but I do think that a lot of the time goes to, maybe we get a little bit of some tough calls sometimes. The 6 again always is a bugbear of mine. So Yeah, but we're doing all right. We work hard on being disciplined, and we're a disciplined group, so it doesn't come as any surprise to me. But it's pleasing nonetheless.
In big games, it could be crucial, couldn't it? You keep your men on the field if they your opponents lose theirs.
Yeah, we want to play the game in the right spirit as well. I think everybody does, and I think if you see most disciplined lapses are generally careless or reckless, not necessarily intentional across the board. I think the sport in itself's played in a good respectful way across the board. So, but again, for us to be at the top of that is very pleasing.
There are some stats saying that there are fewer tackles this year round the head and neck than in previous years. Do you see that, and do you think that's a real progress for Rugby League and Super League this year?
Yeah, I mean, it depends who's doing the stats, but if they're accurate, then that's great. Obviously, the less head tackles, the better for everything, for the brain health in particular. So we're very aware of it. We're very supportive of it. I think across the group, all clubs. And a low tackle doesn't need to be a passive tackle. You can be equally as aggressive and dominant, affecting a low tackle than you can high up. So it takes a lot of practice, but it's been a focus of mine ever since I've been coaching to lower tackles. So the RFL have just given a good reason why players need to buy into it now. So it's it's music to my ears. And like I said before, there's a good appetite from all the coaches, all the players to get on board with it, and everybody's working really hard to do so.